Now, as I keep making videos about Rooster Teeth, there's one comment that recently pops up more and more. And that is people saying, like, this is like watching Machinima die all over again. And I looked into it. Obviously, I did an interview with Ken Burton. He used to be a director at Machinima, and you can check that out at link in the description. It's an interesting interview to get his perspective on the stories and what happened around Machinima. But it is true. If you look into it, the similarities are uncanny, right? Like both Rooster Teeth and Machinima were really huge at their peak. When you looked at YouTube, everything, every gaming video was just having that Machinima logo in the beginning. It was insane how they owned that spot. And obviously similar with Rooster Teeth, who were just almost too big to fail, it seemed like when they were at their peak. Also, and I didn't know this, both were owned by Warner Media. Okay, obviously Rooster Teeth is, I did know that, but I did not know that Machinima was also owned by Warner Media. They also were owned by AT&T, so it was not just Warner Media. That's another interesting nugget, right? That they are both owned by this company. We saw that Warner and AT&T didn't hesitate at all, to take Machinima in that case down. So I don't know what that says about the future of Rooster Teeth going forward. And I said it in my last video, like we looked at them now desperately trying to get more first memberships. Their videos on YouTube don't really pull the clicks that would justify an operation like Rooster Teeth. And it really raised the question of like, what is keeping them afloat? And I think the answer is, it's Warner Media's money. That's basically what keeps them afloat. Obviously, I don't know. I'm just speculating here. But that's something that kind of makes sense to me. It indicates that Warner is probably not too attached to a brand like Rooster Teeth. Also, both companies, Machinima and recently Rooster Teeth, went through a quite radical rebranding. And let me just add my personal opinion here. An awful rebranding in both cases, okay? Like both attempts of rethinking this brand, Machinima and Rooster Teeth, was just like missing the mark so much in representing it, in my opinion. Okay, it's just but anyway, so they both had these radical moves of like, we have to make big changes quickly, we have to do something, which we're seeing now with Rooster Teeth as well, it seems like. And then last but not least, they both started to clean up content. In the case of Machinima towards the end. Obviously, we don't know if and when Rooster Teeth will actually shut down. But recently, Rooster Teeth started to remove content from YouTube as well. I made a video about that. I'll link that in the description as well. So both started deleting content when it kind of got to the end, it feels like. So all these are not good indicators, and there are obvious similarities between the fates of these two companies. But can we see what happened to Machinima and almost take that as an indicator of what might happen to Rooster Teeth going forward, right? So when Machinima shut down, Warner Media and AT&T let go of 81 of their employees, and they only stated that some employees were retained and moved over to Automedia, which is like a daughter company. So some of them were retained, but it sounded like the vast majority of employees were let go. And even some of the shows that were on Machinima at the time were moved over, were saved. Right? Successful shows like, for example, Inside Gaming was saved and brought over to Rooster Teeth for a while. So maybe when it comes to Rooster Teeth, there is some hope that kind of successful channels, that have some kind of trajectory, like maybe Funhaus and so on, may be allowed to continue existing, if that makes sense, that they don't shut them down with Rooster Teeth as well, if that would happen. Because even right now, Rooster Teeth as a brand, and maybe even Funhaus, I don't know, doesn't really return a lot of money for Warner. They are still powerful assets to have, in the sense that they have all these editing bays, they have the machines, they have the facilities, they have the talented staff that can edit videos, right? Do special effects, do animation in the case of Rooster Teeth. So that's an asset, right? That's an asset for Warner, and they would most probably definitely try to retain that. So I don't think Rooster Teeth would be shutting down everything, close all the doors, but they would probably, as they did with Machinima, retain some of the employees, try to use the facilities that are useful to them, right, to edit their series and all the content that Warner produces. Maybe leave some of the brands alive, like Funhaus, let that kind of live on YouTube, their own thing, so it becomes its own brand, who knows. But that seems like a more reasonable approach and solution for this from Warner's perspective, looking at these assets that they have rather than shutting everything down at once and just closing the door. But obviously that would mean that a lot of the iconic Rooster Teeth franchises will not be continued and not exist anymore in further seasons. For example, they've just announced that there will be one last season of Achievement Hunter now. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're shutting down, but it could also just mean that this is the end of Achievement Hunter as we know it is, but that they're focused on creating something new, right, going forward. They don't want to hang out with the old stuff with the achievement. So it doesn't necessarily indicate that they're shutting down, but a lot of the warning signs are there, and especially if we look at Machinima and what happened to that company. I don't know, guys. What do you think? What do you think? Leave your thoughts on this down in the comment section below. Let's have a guess. How long will Rooster Teeth still be around? And dude, maybe it's years, maybe it's decades, maybe they regrow, and I would hope for them to be popular with a new generation of fans. But what is the likeliness of that? Okay, so please just leave your comment and your guess down in the comment section below. Are they going to make it through this year? It feels like we're reaching the end of the line, but that's just my personal opinion, okay? All this is just my observations and interpretations. If you want to discuss this further, dive deeper into the conversation, then join the Discord. The link is in the description. It's free. Loads of nice people hanging out there. You know, you get updates on the channel, and we discuss politics, video games, Rooster Teeth, all of that. Join the Discord. You can also become a member on the channel, subscribe, smash the like button, do all the things that YouTubers like. I would very much appreciate that. Thanks for your time. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. I'm out. Bye.